let's be honest. For a lot of English learners, the word IELTS does not sound exciting. It sounds like stress. It sounds like someone saying, please pay money to prove you can panic in English. And for many people, that is the first feeling. But once you understand what IELTS actually is, it becomes much less mysterious. IELTS stands for the International English Language Testing System. It is an English test used by universities, employers, professional bodies, and governments to check a person's English ability. People often take it because they want to study abroad, apply for work, register for a profession, or use it for visa and migration purposes. In other words, IELTS is not just an English test. For many people, it feels like a bridge between where they are now and where they want to go next. That is one reason so many people feel emotional about it. This is not like a random school quiz where you forget the result next week. For some people, IELTS is connected to a dream, a university in Canada, a job in Australia, a visa application in the UK, or simply the chance to build a new life in another country. So when people say, I'm preparing for IELTS, what they often really mean is, I'm preparing for a life change. Now, here is the first important thing people need to understand. There is not just one IELTS for everyone. IELTS offers different test types, and the main two are IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training. The listening and speaking sections are the same in both, but the reading and writing sections are different depending on the purpose of the test. Academic is generally used for higher education and some professional registration, while general training is more commonly used for migration, work, and training below degree level. This matters because a lot of people begin IELTS prep without even checking which version they actually need. That is like training for a football match and then finding out you were supposed to play tennis. Still athletic, but not ideal. Another thing that makes IELTS feel bigger than it really is the test's reputation. People talk about it like it is some kind of English monster waiting in a dark room. But the truth is simpler. IELTS is designed to test 4 core skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. That's it. Not magic, not secret traps, just the 4 main language skills. In both academic and general training, the test includes those 4 sections, with listening taking about 30 minutes, reading 60 minutes, writing 60 minutes, and speaking 11 to 14 minutes. And here is something many learners find comforting. IELTS does not have a pass or fail system. Instead, it uses a 9 band scale, and you receive an overall band score plus a separate score for each of the 4 skills. The overall score is the average of the 4 section scores rounded to the nearest half band. So the goal is not pass or fail in the usual way. The real goal is to get the band score that your university, employer, or visa process requires. That changes the mindset a lot. You are not trying to become perfect at English in one day. You are trying to reach a target. And that target can be different for different people. One person may need a 6, another may need 6.5, someone else may need a 7 or higher. So IELTS is not really a competition against everybody else. It is more like a mission with a score goal. There are also more flexible options now than many people realize. For example, IELTS offers 1 skill retake in many places, which means if you take a full eligible IELTS test and one section goes badly, you may be able to retake just 1 skill instead of doing the whole test again. According to the official IELTS site, this is available widely, worldwide, though availability depends on location and test format, and it must be taken within 60 days of the original eligible test. IELTS also recently updated delivery rules, so one skill retake can now also apply to writing on paper when taken in the same delivery mode as the original test. That does not mean people should relax too much and show up unprepared with positive vibes only, but it does mean IELTS today is a little more flexible than many learners think. And one more thing matters here. You do not need to prepare blindly. IELTS provides official preparation resources, including sample test questions, scoring guides, videos, webinars, and practice materials. That means good preparation is not about guessing what the test might be like. It is about learning the format, practicing the right way, and understanding what examiners are actually looking for. So, if we strip away the fear, IELTS is really this: a structured English test with clear sections, clear scoring, different versions for different goals, and official tools to help you prepare. And once a learner understands that, the fear becomes smaller. Because the unknown is always scarier than the actual thing. Now that we understand what IELTS is and why people take it, the next question is the one everyone secretly worries about. What actually happens inside the test? Many learners imagine something extremely complicated. But in reality, IELTS is built around 4 simple language skills: listening, reading, writing, speaking. If you think about it, those are the same 4 skills you use every day when learning any language. IELTS is simply checking how well you can use English in these 4 areas. The test usually takes about 2 hours and 45 minutes in total. The listening, reading, and writing sections happen on the same day, while the speaking test may happen on the same day or sometimes on a nearby date, depending on the test center. Let's break down the sections one by one. First comes listening. The listening test lasts about 30 minutes. During this section, you will hear 4 different recordings. These recordings might be conversations, instructions, or short talks. For example, one recording might be a conversation between 2 people planning a trip. Another might be someone explaining a university program or giving a short lecture. While listening, you answer questions on the test paper or computer. These questions can include things like filling in missing words, matching information, or choosing the correct answer. The tricky part is simple. You only hear the recording once, so concentration matters. But the good news is that the recordings start easier and gradually become more challenging. Next comes reading. The reading test lasts 60 minutes. Here you will read several passages and answer questions about them. If you take IELTS Academic, the reading passages are usually taken from books, articles, or research-style texts. They might talk about science, history, or social topics. If you take IELTS General Training, the texts are usually more practical. They may include advertisements, instructions, workplace information, or everyday documents. In both cases, the challenge is not only understanding the text, but also managing your time. Many students say the biggest difficulty in reading is finishing all the questions before the clock runs out. Then comes writing. This section also lasts 60 minutes, and it has 2 tasks. In academic IELTS, Task 1 usually asks you to describe information from a chart, graph, or diagram. For example, you might explain how a city's population changed over time or how energy use compares between different countries. Task 2 is an essay. You might be asked to give your opinion, discuss advantages and disadvantages, or explain a problem and possible solutions. In general training IELTS, Task 1 is different. Instead of describing a chart, you usually write a letter. For example, you might write to a company, a landlord, or a friend about a situation. Task 2 inches. General training is still an essay, similar to the academic test. Finally comes the section many learners worry about the most, speaking. But here's a secret. Many people actually end up enjoying the speaking test. The speaking test is a face-to-face conversation with an examiner, and it usually lasts about 11 to 14 minutes. It is divided into 3 parts. In part 1, the examiner asks simple questions about familiar topics like your hometown, hobbies, work, or studies. In part 2, you receive a topic card. You have 1 minute to prepare and then speak about the topic for about 2 minutes. In part 3, the examiner asks deeper questions related to the topic you just discussed. This part feels more like a short discussion. The important thing to remember is that the examiner is not trying to trap you. They're simply trying to see how naturally and clearly you can communicate in English. So when you look at the whole structure, IELTS becomes much less mysterious. It's not testing rare vocabulary or complicated grammar tricks. It's testing how well you can understand English, read information, express ideas in writing, and communicate in conversation. And once you understand the structure of the test, the next big question becomes even more important. How are your answers actually scored? Because understanding the scoring system can change the way you prepare for IELTS completely. Now, let's talk about something that almost every IELTS student thinks about constantly: the score. Many people ask questions like, is IELTS pass or fail? What if I make mistakes? How strict are the examiners? The first thing you should know is this: IELTS does not have a pass or fail system. Instead, it uses something called band scores, which go from band 0 to band 9. Think of the band score like a ladder. The higher you go, the stronger your English ability is considered. Here's a simple way to understand the scale. A band 9 means expert level English. Someone at this level can use English almost perfectly in complex situations. A band 8 means very strong English with only occasional small mistakes. A band 7 usually means good English. You can communicate clearly, even if you sometimes make errors. A band 6 means competent English. You can handle everyday communication, but might struggle with more complex ideas. And as the bands go lower, it simply means the learner still needs more development in English. The important thing is that most universities and visa programs do not expect perfection. For many university programs, the typical requirement is around band 6.5 or 7. For some immigration programs, a band 6 may already be enough. So, your goal is not to reach band 9. Your goal is to reach the score your program requires. Now, here is another important detail many learners don't know. In IELTS, you actually receive 5 scores. You get 1 score for listening, reading, writing, speaking. And then you receive an overall band score, which is the average of the 4. For example, imagine your scores look like this: listening, 7, reading, 6.5, writing, 6, speaking, 7. Your average would be around 6.5 overall. This means even if one section is slightly weaker, your stronger sections can help balance it. Now, let's talk about something that makes many students nervous: how writing and speaking are judged. Unlike listening or reading, these sections are not just right or wrong. Instead, examiners evaluate several important skills. In writing, examiners look at four main things. First, task response: did you actually answer the question properly? Second, coherence and cohesion: are your ideas organized clearly? Third, vocabulary: are you using a good range of words? And fourth, grammar: how accurate and varied your sentence structures are. But here's something encouraging. Examiners are not expecting perfect grammar. Even Band 7 candidates make mistakes sometimes. What matters is that your ideas are clear and your language is effective. The speaking test works in a similar way. Examiners listen for fluency and how smoothly you speak, vocabulary range, grammar use, pronunciation. Again, perfection is not the goal. The examiner wants to see whether you can communicate naturally. Many students worry about their accent, but accents are completely normal. IELTS examiners hear accents from all over the world every day. The real question is simply, can the examiner understand you clearly? Once learners understand how IELTS scoring works, something interesting happens. The test stops feeling like a mystery. Instead of thinking, I hope I survive the exam, students start thinking more strategically. How can I improve my writing structure? How can I manage my reading time better? How can I speak more confidently? And that leads us to the most practical part of the entire IELTS journey. How should you actually prepare for the test? Because with the right strategy, IELTS preparation becomes much more efficient and much less stressful. Now that you understand what IELTS is, how the test works, and how the scoring system works, the final question becomes the most important one. How do you actually prepare for it? Many students make the same mistake when preparing for IELTS. They think the solution is simple. Just study more English. So they start memorizing long vocabulary lists, reading random articles, or watching endless grammar videos. But IELTS preparation works better when it is focused and strategic. Think of it like training for a sport. If someone wants to run a marathon, they don't just run randomly every day. They train specific muscles, improve endurance, and practice under real race conditions. IELTS preparation works the same way. The first smart step is understanding the test format completely. When you know what kinds of questions appear in each section, you stop feeling surprised during the exam. Practice tests are extremely helpful for this. They show you how the listening questions look, how reading passages are structured, and what writing tasks usually ask. Once the format becomes familiar, the test starts to feel less intimidating. The second key step is improving your daily English habits. One of the best ways to improve listening skills is simply by listening to English regularly. This could be podcasts, news reports, documentaries, or even YouTube videos. The goal is not just hearing English, but getting used to different accents and speeds. For reading, it helps to read articles, blogs, or short reports in English. Try reading about different topics: science, culture, technology, or education, because IELTS reading passages often cover a wide range of subjects. Writing is where many students struggle the most. The best way to improve writing is through practice and feedback. Try writing essays and letters regularly, and if possible, ask a teacher or experienced learner to review them. Over time, you will start noticing common mistakes, and learn how to organize your ideas more clearly. Speaking practice is also important, but it doesn't always require a classroom. You can practice speaking English with friends, language partners, or even by recording yourself answering common IELTS questions. It may feel strange at first, but it helps build confidence and fluency. Another useful strategy is time management practice. Many IELTS candidates know enough English but lose points because they run out of time. For example, in the reading section, some students spend too long on the first passage and then rush through the rest. Practicing under real-time limits helps you learn how to pace yourself. And here is one more important tip. Don't aim for perfection. IELTS examiners do not expect perfect grammar or flawless vocabulary. What they want to see is clear communication. If you can explain ideas logically, understand spoken English, and express yourself confidently, you are already on the right path. Many successful IELTS candidates are not perfect English speakers. They simply know how to use their English effectively. Finally, remember that IELTS is not just an exam. For many people, it represents an opportunity. It may open the door to studying in a new country, starting a career abroad, or connecting with people from different cultures. Yes, the test can be challenging, but with the right preparation and mindset, it becomes much more manageable than it first appears. And once you understand how the test works, the fear usually turns into something else. Confidence. Because IELTS is not about being the best English speaker in the world. It's about proving that you can use English well enough to take the next step in your life. All right. If you made it through this shadowing session, that already shows your discipline. This repetition and consistency combination might look boring on paper, but it is one of the most powerful ways to build fluent, natural English. Keep showing up like this, and your brain will slowly adapt. Trust the process. If this helped even a little, consider liking the video or subscribing. It lets me know these sessions are actually making a difference. We'll catch up again soon. Take care. Till then.